Fellow gang members, 20th Century Fox presents the greatest thing in cinema history since the coming of the talkies, the return of the silent movie.
Oh dear, thought he'd been quiet for too long.
At last, I was back where I felt I belonged, acting.
The adventures of Inspector Bluff and Sergeant Clue.
With accompaniment on the pianoforte by any chance?
It was 1976, and I'd landed a part in a new Sunday morning children's TV programme called The Sunday Gang. There were 4 characters, 2 boys and 2 girls. Oh, and one mouse. The mouse was called Macintosh, which I played crouching inside a large box with my hand, or rather the mouse, sticking up the top, while I read his lines straight from the script and watched the monitor by my feet. It was very cramped, but I loved playing Macintosh. He was very funny and completely outrageous. We also got to do a bit of location work, and one of mine was to go to Lindisfarne on Holy Island.
A particularly hard part of Northumberland. Did you know that almost the whole of England was once ruled from here? Well, not here exactly. Follow me.
Of course, being Boff, it just had to be November.
2 hours before means take 2 from Greenwich Mean Time plus 1 for British Summer Time. Greenwich Mean Time equals high tide at Greenwich. And now I add 1, or is it subtract 1? Oh, Oscar, all these facts and figures, and nothing to say exactly when it's low tide at Lindisfarne and the causeway's clear. Well, that's where Aden settles, so that's where I'll have to go. Why do I always get these sort of jobs?
That water was very, very cold. Back in the studio, the girls were entertaining someone that we really didn't want to see again. Okay, guys, time to record the closing song. Hey, the camera's over here! Yes, they were very happy days. I even got to be a front-page pin-up boy on the Salvation Army magazine. The Sunday Gang ran for 48 episodes over 6 years, and the BBC let me use my own outfit, which were dungarees and a cap, on which I'd heavily embroidered my name, Boff. After Magners, I did the occasional fringe theatre. I felt that I had to catch up for the missing years away from acting, although of course I was acting the part of a folk singer. The first fringe was in 1977, just round the corner from our flat, at the Soho Poly. Nothing very exciting. I played an off-stage policeman, heard trying to talk a criminal into dropping his gun. No laughs, but Brian Croucher was the director, and I wasn't going to turn down working with a good director. It was round about this time that David bought a pet shop in Twickenham. It was really to keep me occupied, but it was very hard work for David, as he was now running Collard's Printing on his own, and he came over to Twickenham to help out at the weekends, or when I was in Manchester doing the Sunday Gang. I used to drive up there in the little yellow van. You can see it just outside the shop. We had the shop for 3 years, but I couldn't let the acting bug go. So we sold the shop and moved back to the London flat. JD, that's John Dryden from Sunday Gang, was directing a pantomime in Tunbridge Wells, and he asked if I'd like to play Owl in The Owl and the Pussycat. He'd already got Cindy Kent from the Settlers folk group to play Pussycat, so of course I said yes. Now I like to have some input in my costume or makeup, or in this case mask. I was quite happy with the results. This photo of Mum and Stuart's wife Peggy shows off the mask I made quite well. I found I quite liked being in musicals, acting and singing. It had been a long time since Espresso Bongo. So early in 1978 I spotted an advert, artists needed for the Renaissance Theatre Company's next production, a rock musical called Strong Arm Sammy. It turned out to be based in Ulverston in Cumbria. I thought, nice place to spend the summer. So off I trotted to the audition and landed the part of a high priest. It turned out to be a bit more amateurish than we were led to believe, but the nucleus was professional enough. A very experienced musical director, Simon Webb, and an equally experienced movement and dance Dutch actress called Theo Ramft. So I thought, well, the weather's nice, it's near the sea, so I signed on the dotted line, found myself a flat, and settled into rehearsals. The story was roughly about Samson and Delilah. I rang Tony in our London flat and asked him to send me instructions and the necessary things I'd need to make a wig. I'd seen him make them at home. They weren't hair, just glitter thread on a net and wire frame. When Theo, playing the high priestess, when she saw mine, she wanted one, so we made one for her. I also made myself a set of false fingers. Theo and I played it like the Rocky Horror, which she'd played in Holland, but our script didn't really work, and the boy playing the title role of Sammy was too young and inexperienced, so after a few nights the tour was cut short. But it was a nice paid holiday, and I had the little yellow van to run around in.
We fit them all, the long, the short, and the tall. We fit Excel systems on any make or model. British or foreign, it's always a doddle. We're speedy and keen, and there's more. On price, we always will score. So when exhausted you're feeling, a replacement you're needing, Kettering, we fit them all.
Although I didn't feel it, I was now in my mid-40s, and work was becoming harder to find. I'd never managed to get a really good agent. Somehow work had just come along. I accepted all the odds and ends I was offered. Now here would be a good place to mention a long-standing friend, Michael Baldwin. Michael was a costume designer for ATV when I met him. He was always generous in giving his friends a helping hand. He made a beautiful frock for Nola's first TV appearance of our song I Don't Understand, and it was used again with Bow Bells. He's multi-talented. Michael also wrote films and plays, usually under the pseudonym of Max India. Here are a few quick extracts from a short film that Michael wrote for me. I never discovered how he got Jeffrey Whitehead to do it. It's called Stills.
Didn't notice be as cold as this. Books are getting heavy. Should have bought a new one on the way back. Now, let's see. Yes, it's the right news. Oh, it's not the one over there. Right, Mr. Cambridge, hope you got the kettle on for a cup of tea. I'm parched. And I think you're all going to need it.
You're sagging again.
I'm tired.
Oh, rest then. Who the hell is that? Yes?
Mr. William Cambridge.
From that expensive piece of equipment we haven't finished yet.
How do you do? I'm Stanley Gloof. Are you modelling for one of the man's catalogues?
No, he is not. Anyway, it's none of your business. As you can see, I'm very busy. What is it you're after?
Well, you agreed I should come and look through your pictures. You said you had some special ones.
I think you must be onto something.
Oh, what a lovely room.
Yes, now, what is it you're after?
Do you want to sit down?
Yes, no, can I take your coat?
Oh, Tar. Oh, this is comfy. Yeah, I couldn't have a cup of tea, could I? I'm that parched.
I'm busy. No, please, get on with it. I've got people coming soon. What can I do for you?
I feel faint.
I got this letter from you.
Letter?
Cool. Frosty.
I never sent you...
William, can I put the kettle on?
Well, put anything you like on. Open the champagne, break out the Chinese prawns, let's have a party. Take your clothes off. Let's have an orgy. Put your clothes back on again. Stanley is taking us to Lagabroche. One thing I have to ask you.
Yes.
How do you afford
The pictures.
all those pictures?
Well, I structure my life to afford it.
Fact sheets. Choose as many as you want.
You are kind. Well, must be off. Saturday night. Mother always makes a steak pie on a Saturday. Yes, Mr. William Cambridge. I think we understand each other. I've got you right where I want you. Now the books. I was thinking about using Arnie, but no. I think the new book...
As I said at the beginning, I don't know how he persuaded Jeffrey Whitehead to be in the film. We shot the whole thing in one day. In 1983, I was asked to audition for a tour of the musical version of Wind in the Willows. I always hated auditions, especially for a musical. I never knew what to sing, but on this occasion I knew exactly what I was going to sing. I was going back to when I was a dresser for Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, and the one song in the show that I felt I could act. It was called In My Own Little Corner. Cinderella sang it, but I changed a few words as I sang it as a boy. As I had plenty to exercise as I sang, I wasn't nervous. In fact, I enjoyed it. And when I'd finished, they offered me the part of Ratty. So, to quote the programme notes, this must be the first time a mouse has become a rat. They are, of course, referring to Macintosh Mouse and the Sunday Gang. Well, once we started rehearsals, the four main characters, Mole, Toad, Ratty and Badger, were given beautifully made head masks, but it soon became obvious that they were not practical, as our vision was very limited and it made the fight scenes with the weasels impossible. So they used them just for publicity, which left me wondering what to do for my makeup. This old picture, taken on opening night, shows me I was not on the right track. Our second week took us up to Manchester, where we'd filmed Sunday Gang, so I went to the makeup department at the BBC and I asked their advice. They were great. They took a lot of trouble. They showed me how to stipple. That's building up layers of makeup with a sort of Brillo pad, and it gives it a fur effect. And they suggested I paint my ratty teeth onto my top lip, so the cumbersome false ones I'd made were unnecessary. I think you'll admit it was a great improvement. When we were in Croydon for Christmas, the lighting engineer took the trouble of complimenting me on my makeup. He generally thought it was a full fur mask, and I could never have sung my song well with those plastic teeth I'd made.
Believe me, my young friend, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, half so much fun as simply messing about in boats. Messing about in boats, that's what I'm doing. Boating or canoeing, it's the same to me. You'll find nothing half so grand, though you search the land and sea. Splashing about in boats, gaze on the river.
I'm sorry, my young friends, to inflict this snowy weather on you, but it's more in keeping with the next part of my tale. Sometimes, when I was between acting jobs, I used to work as a runner, and when I had a chance to work for Torval and Dean, well, I jumped at it. In 1985, they were preparing for their world tour, and for a while I worked as a runner for their wardrobe department. They were the nicest couple you could imagine, and of course I watched rehearsals whenever I could, hoping that some of their magic would rub off on me. And maybe it worked, because my next job was for a TV film, and I was